processes in order to ensure that there is economic justice. I would like to commend the Council of Ministers led by yourself, our chairperson, as the policy body of the East African community for their exemplary policy direction and unwavering dedication to creating an enabling business environment. Their commitment has been evident in the adoption of resolutions from our previous summit, which include the ratification of the African Free Continental Trade Area, the finalization of the East African Common External Tariff, and the inclusion of the Democratic Republic of Congo into the East African community. I would like to request that we recognize our brothers from Congo, the directors of the industry, the captains of industry are in the room. Maybe they can stand up so we can give them a warm welcome officially, since this is the second summit. Oh, they were right there. Yes. Our legislative efforts have played an instrumental role in advancing our growth and integration agenda, and I'd like to acknowledge the transformative laws and regulations that have been introduced. The East African Custom and Trade Facilitation Law, we have the Investment Promotion and Protection Acts, the E-Commerce and Digital Trade Regulations, and I want to boast that the East African community is currently leading in Africa when it comes to legislation in technology. And one of the things we also recognize is the progress on gender inclusion. And as we may have it, as luck may have it, this week we are also celebrating 20 years of the Maputo Protocol, which emphasizes economic justice across gender. As we celebrate our accomplishments, we should also recognize the challenges, and we see that collaboration remains our strongest pillar for progress. By synergizing our efforts of the East African Business Council, we would want to work with everybody and the private sector, but also governments, to ensure that we have the requisite infrastructure. Since we brought on Congo, there's been some geographical challenges that the Republic of Uganda is addressing through the roads. We want to thank you for that. But there's a lot that we have to do as a community when it comes to enabling infrastructure for business to really go regional. I'd like to extend our gratitude to the East African Community Secretariat and thank our esteemed partners and sponsors. We should give them all a big hand clap. These include the Private Sector Foundation Uganda, which is a focal point, Uganda Manufacturers Association, Uganda Investment Authority, AfriExim Bank, the GIZ, RSM East Africa, Medvani Group, Standard Chartered Bank, PSC Capital, Ciatini, and PwC. We have other sponsors in the room, and we would not have done this without you. The dedicated teams from these institutions, along with the host government, thank you, Honorable Minister, have put in tremendous effort to lay the foundation for what promises to be a successful summit. We cannot thank you enough, our guests, because a feast is nothing without the guests. Thank you very much. Please clap for yourselves for coming and honoring our invitation. In conclusion, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to the Republic of Uganda, the government of the Republic of Uganda, for its visionary leadership and unwavering commitment to regional economic integration. The East African Business Council embodies our collective aspirations as a private sector, and as representatives of our nations, let us pledge to further its mission. Together, we possess the collective power to craft a vibrant and prosperous East African business landscape, one that nurtures commerce, drives innovation, promotes inclusivity, and cultivates shared prosperity for God and my country.
There are people who speak, and you can immediately tell that they will work for the United Nations. Unless, of course, they choose not to go that far. Let he who hears know what the Spirit tells the audience. You know, God speaks through the prophets. I would like to invite Mr. Dennis Carrera, Vice Chairperson, East African Business Council. But before I do, there is no water on the tables, and the reason is simple, that in East Africa we've started to understand the value of reducing on the usage of plastic and going full digital. So if you look through the side, there is water and there are glasses. That also doubles as your morning exercise. So if you feel like you want to drink some water, feel free to make a few steps towards the end of the room, take some water and come back to where you're seated. As you do that, you can stretch as well and then come back. Now, Mr. Dennis Carrera is our next speaker, and he is very welcome. Waram Samtuare.
Good morning, everyone. The First Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Community Affairs of Uganda, the Deputy Secretary General of the East African Community, Excellencies, Ambassadors, Directors at the EABC, the private sector foundations, captains of industry, all protocol observed. I'm not so good at protocol, although I'm a diplomat. It's a bit ironical, but I realized the set of protocol is a speech alone. It's the first part of the speech, so in the interest of time, I want to cut it short. But I want you to recognize that I recognize each one of you in your powerful capacities, private and public. You're all recognized. Good morning once again. Officially, I have a speech, and it is 5 pages. Madam First Deputy Prime Minister, if I do the 5-page speech, this might take half of the time that we have this morning. So I will consolidate I have consolidated my speech into 4 bullet points. I think I was a good student of summary back in the days. I welcome each one of you to this summit, which we last had in 2018 in Arusha. And since that, we have had a few challenges to organize another one. Our intention had been to have a summit every year. Every end of the year, we have a summit in one of the countries, because we thought we had business to discuss. We thought we had things to do. Now, 2019, we were not able to do that. 2020, we had COVID. 2021, same situation. Post that, we were not able to organize ourselves. So since 2018, this is the next summit, East African Business Summit. And so I want to congratulate all of you who are here and thank the organizers, the Secretariat, the different directors of EABC here in the different countries, private sector bodies in the different countries who have worked hard to make sure this happens. Now, I have come to terms with a certain situation that I want to share with you. And it goes with a sense of worry. And I want you to rescue me from carrying a sense of worry every time. As East Africans, are we not going to be experts of talking? Madam Deputy Prime Minister, I'm worried that we shall be experts of talking. We have talked. We are so good at speaking. Look at our panels. We are so good at speaking. So, but how much have we done? How have we transformed talking into action? This is my key question as your focal point. I'm the focal point for the ACFTA within East African Business Council. What are we doing? Tunafanya nini? Tumefanya vingapi? How far are we in implementation of trade? If we want to be champions at talking, I will request that the First Deputy Prime Minister gives awards today for good speakers. There are good speakers in this room, I'm telling you, very good speakers. But let me ask, how many awards are we going to give for doers? Put aside the speakers, the doers. How many of us have done? 2018, the ACFTA agreement was signed. Here we are, 2023. May I ask at random, how many companies are trading across the continent? By show of hands. How many have successfully taken goods from Uganda to the entire African continent? Hands up. Right. How many from Burundi have exported goods to the continent? How many from Rwanda have exported goods to the continent? I saw one this morning. She's there. Right. How many from Kenya have exported goods to the continent under CFTA? One. So, Madam Deputy Prime Minister, from 2018, when the agreement was signed, to 2023, only 2 people in the room have made use of the facility of a CFTA. And this is why I worry that we might become good talkers and good speakers, but not good doers. My call this morning, ladies and gentlemen, is to ask that can we be good doers than good talkers? Business is about doing. Business is not about talking. So that's my point number one. Number two, back to East Africa, recognizing that charity begins at home. Have we improved trading with each other? Because this has been our journey, this has been our message, this has been our advocacy. As the East African Business Council, our advocacy has been, can we trade strongly with ourselves before we even tell West Africa, Northern Africa, and the Horn of Africa, before we tell them, before we engage them in trade? How much have we improved in trading with each other? Have we? For the private sector foundations of different countries, within East Africa, have we improved trading with each other? Has the volumes increased? Are the revenues increasing? I visited the Katuna border last week, purposely to see how much is happening before I come for this summit. And my realization was, whereas I met a couple of trucks heading for Kigali, with a bit of indiscipline, by the way, still happening at the border, poor parking, a bit of delays, we still have challenges at borders. But I did not meet any container headed for West Africa or for Northern Africa. Zero. At the border in Katuna, I counted over 70 containers. None had a destination beyond Congo. Nobody was intending to load the aircraft in Kigali to go to Morocco, to deliver in Nigeria, nobody. And so I am wondering, what are we doing with this ACFTA opportunity? The tools are ready, agreements have been signed, we are busy teaching players in the industry what to do with it. We are teaching women, we are teaching the youth, we are teaching as EABC, GIZ is financing. By the way, I'm sorry I forgot to recognize you, GIZ. Thank you very much for the work you keep doing with us. We recognize it. When I attended, the last I attended an European business summit like this one, it had over 1,000 delegates. In the East African community today, I can see, counting offhand, we are about 300 or so. What does this mean? That the Europeans understand business better than us, or we don't even know how to copy how to do business? So much that GIZ has to finance you to do your business better. Can you not finance yourselves? But I'm sure there's a bit of funding within colleagues from the room. But let us, I think, take advantage of the opportunity of a CFTA and start trading, ladies and gentlemen. And let's make business happen. We have discussed logistics arrangement in place. Later in the panels, you will hear from the exporter of coffee from so mine was just a call. I'll be discussing later the other deeper aspects of how to implement our mission in ACFTA. But my call is, how much more are we doing within East Africa? Because let me give you a snapshot of what the opportunities could be. There is an aircraft in Kigali dedicated for cargo from East Africa to anywhere. It has secured landing anywhere on the continent. It has reduced rates. It has specific rates for items under ACFTA. When you have cargo and it is named ACFTA, that aircraft gives you a discount. The taxation is reduced. Currently under ACFTA, I think we pay only 7% of tax, which will reduce significantly from 8 to 7% to 5% to 2%, and ultimately duty-free completely. Are we taking care of this? Are our populations aware of this? Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make this information availability of the ACFTA Adjustment Fund, which was launched in Kigali sometime earlier this year. This fund is meant to facilitate trade for those who have projects under ACFTA. I think my brother John Bosco from the PAP system will talk about it later. This fund is sitting in Kigali. It is headquartered in Kigali, and it is supposed to be availed to all of you who wish to trade under ACFTA. Make use of this fund. The last information we got was it was about $10 billion. And it is for our use as a region. Can we prepare our projects? Can we approach the office in Kigali? Can we make good use of this money so that we see things happening? With those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, my five-page speech is done. I think I've condensed it properly to 4 bullet points. I thank you very much, and I look forward to...
I think many of you agree with me that if Mr. Karera had not been a diplomat,